Hey guys, how are you guys doing? Good morning, or like it's already in the afternoon, and we are very excited to be here today, and representing Vietnam, and of course the future of blockchain network layer one. But we're gonna also touch a little bit on layer two, no? Yeah, and so maybe like to start off, maybe like every one of us here maybe can give like a little introduction about ourselves, so like the audience would know us a little better. So maybe we're gonna go from over there with Tín, right? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, xin chào Việt Nam. Really excited to be here. I'm Tin. I'm the development lead of OpenGuild. We're the leading contributors of Polkadot APAC. So we represent like Polkadot in like CR market. We incubate builders to come to like Polkadot. We training and also like, provide resources. If you're not like familiar with Polkadot yet, I think that there's a sponsor logo over there, and also there's a Polkadot booth out there. So if you're not familiar with it yet, like feel free to visit like Polkadot after. Like the panel, and yeah, again, like really excited to be here to discuss about like blockchain with like all the experts.
Yeah. So next we have Ken from Barachain.
Hello everyone, this is truly an honor to be here. My name is Ken. I am Vietnam Growth Lead for Barachain. So Barachain, we are layer one with the consensus mechanism, approval liquidity, and we just go mainnet for 6 months with around 70 projects going on mainnet right now. Today, I'm very excited to sit here and to discuss with you all about our blockchain industry.
And we have also Sungmo from Monad, a very famous new layer one from like from the valley.
Yeah, great to meet you guys. I'm Sungmo from Monad Foundation. I'm currently serving as APAC lead, so anything that is related to Asia Pacific side and Monad Foundation, it's under my scope. So I joined Monad about 1.5 years ago, and I'm building, and we are about to launch our mainnet, so we're excited to hear, and yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. Thank you.
Cool, and my name is Jesse. I'm the co-founder of like Cyberfans AI. We are doing AI clone for real influencers on Solana, but I'm not here to talk about Solana. And I'm also the co-founder of Finica Startup Hub. We are the venture and entrepreneurship arm of Finica University, which I believe the biggest private university in Vietnam. We have like 25,000 students and over 50 programs, including like engineering, computer science, business, of course, and even like medicines. Finica University is like under Finica Group, one of the biggest industrial conglomerates in Vietnam. But let's get right into it, right? So as we know, right, like layer one blockchains, despite all the noise that layer two made last year, I think like like the volume and then the utilities as well as like the technologies, TPS and whatnot, are catching up fast to like layer one and catching up fast from layer one to layer two. So the question now is like what are your overall thoughts on the current state of the blockchain industry in general, and also specifically in fundamental infrastructure like layer one, layer two, and how has this developed over the past year? Like I just said, right? Like last year, layer two was really hard. This year not so much. Maybe we can start with Barachain, because I know like here Barachain is like really strong in Vietnam, and you guys have like one of the leading project, I believe, which is like whole station, no? And maybe can you share a little bit about that?
So if you say over the past 1 or let's say 2 years, we have seen blockchain development have been progressing like relentlessly. One of the biggest milestone I believe was on January 10, 2024, when the US SEC released their first crypto ETF. And this have created a very huge impact for the blockchain industry for 2 reasons. First of all, US SEC is the biggest financial institution and economy in the world. And it took them 10 years to approve for a new ETF, a new financial asset. But it was a long period, but it also means legitimacy. And it showed that how US are very serious on this. So after the approval, it has shifted people's perspective towards blockchain. And it also lift up the confidence of the retail investors and also the institution on the traditional side. Second reason I believe was this is a new gateway for blockchain to engage with the traditional finance capital. So which simply means that the access now to the capital is more abundant and more efficient. And so we will have more capital to grow and to accelerate and for innovation on across the space. Also, from the Web3 perspective. So if you look at the current state right now, scalability is no longer the concern, right? We don't have to think about, security or scalability or even, transaction fee. We have reached our max capability on those issues. So the bigger question now is how can a blockchain, leverage the application on it so that the application can reach to more, daily life and more practical for the people. So now, we might be able to see blockchain serving, AI development. We see blockchain on healthcare, on entertainment, on education. Before blockchain just start with, solving the solution for payment, but now we can see, so much more on that. We see, blockchain that designed specifically for AI development like Sahara AI or Chain. And then we have, blockchain that designed for decentralized trading like Hyperliquid, right? And at Better Chain, we have a blockchain that addresses the issue of, solving the initial liquidity sufficient by, our mechanism called proof of liquidity, and also the issue of incentive misalignment. So we reward the validators, the users, and the application more fairly. Yeah.
Thanks, man. And maybe we get like a little bit like over, like a little bit like from a macro perspective. Maybe I can ask Sung more, right? Like as far as I remember, right? Like Monad, right? Was entering the market like somewhere like last year or like maybe like 2 years ago. And with like the promise of like, I remember at the time it's like 10,000 TPS, right? And like over the last 2 years, right? We are like 3 years even, like we have seen like some newer like, layer one still entering the market, right? Including Mona, which is a very successful case. But we are seeing right now, and we have been seeing like, the introduction of like layer twos, right? With the, like with ZK, and like with Base, of course, very strong from Coinbase, being introduced every month right now. And they have a lot of innovation. And, but, from your perspective, Sungmo, like, what do you think about this trend? Because like, the bottom line is like the technology is still like, we have the same throughput with like layer 2, still fast, still, very cheap fee. And so what do you think the, like the value of like newer layer 1s compared to like layer 2s, in this current state of the market, and how Monad is planning to be different?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of good technologies already. The industry has been advancing quite a lot. So I think the speed and throughput and cheap gas fee, these things are already commoditized. So many people are already enjoying fast speed and cheap gas fee, except for Ethereum itself. So I think what is important at this moment is layer 1s and layer 2 to provide good user base of the applications. And I think the ability to onboard good projects on those blockchains based out of their strong user base is really important. That's why Solana or Base or those kind of projects are doing really good job these days. And also, I think token performance itself is also very important because that itself is a very good marketing and impact for the retail investors. And those retail investors will be more interested in the ecosystem itself, and they will be able to try out the on-chain activities and transactions in that blockchain. So To sum up, I think most important thing is how to help those projects acquire users so that their business can be successful. And I think the technology is also important, but they're already commoditized. So, yeah.
Okay. And maybe I can ask Dean about this because you're coming from like an ecosystem of like one of the OG chains, right? Polkadot. But you know, I'm gonna be honest here, right? You guys are a little bit behind from like bigger chains like Ethereum, and Solana, which they all came from the same generation of the first like smart contracts chain, right? Way back in the previous cycle even. So from like a perspective of the insiders from the developers community, right? What do you guys think? Like how can you guys compete against like existing giants from the from the previous generation like Ethereum, Solana, and the newer generation giants like like Monad, Chain, or even Base, right? All the way to ZK, and what is the direction that the developers community is doing, and what is the direction that the Polkadot Foundation is doing, based on your perspective.
Yeah, I think like that's a very interesting standpoint, and I like totally understandable, like the view of like Polkadot at the current stage. I think like, but like comparing Polkadot with like Base or Monad or Better Change is not like apple to apple, because like Polkadot is a base layer, and the solution that the Polkadot foundations they aim to solve is a bit different from like the consumer change, I can say so. But I believe like we are like trying to be better on the consumer level. So there's a lot of like proposal, a lot of improvement on like the Polkadot protocol side to, first of all, a unified address format that they try to make like one account for like all the parachains in the Polkadot ecosystem right now, instead of like fragmented experience. And that is also one of the key things I want to mention, that the blockchain space, compared with like 2021, we already move away not only like about hype and speculation, but also like a product with like usability and UX first product. And to support like all those kind of products, like the infrastructure below is also not to be like need to be like robust enough to support those things. Like in Ethereum, we have like smart account, we have like account abstractions, and also a lot of like EIP proposals to support like UX. And I think in Polkadot, we also follow the same approach. But like to get back to the questions, more about the future, let's say like a future of Polkadot and what like we are aiming to solve. Gavin Wood and also other like co-founders of Polkadot and tech lead in Polkadot, they are trying to, now we no longer solve the problem with block space. To put in Polkadot is quite fast, but like we're trying to first solve like the way that user can onboard in the easier way. Creating a blockchain is still like hard. We're talking about like creating like layer 1, layer 2, and that's also a topic that we're gonna talk in the later sections. And Polkadot already like, have some improvement that you can one click and have like the parachain running. The cost quite low because now we follow the multi-core infrastructure that's similar to the CPU. No, similar to like traditional computer that you can like buy a new core if you need more block space. Yeah, so I think like those are what we are focusing on right now. And if you need some keyword, there's like HO core time, elastic scaling are like some key innovations that like the Polkadot protocol is aiming to deliver around like 2025. Yeah.
All right, thanks. And maybe we go over like a little like the macro perspective already. Let's get micro, yeah? And so for newer chain, like Monad, for example, right? I know you guys are still not like fully on mainnet yet, right? And but still, you guys have, like a big successful funding round, and of course, like there's like pressure, from the community, of course, because they've been following for a while. But from the actual projects that are building on Monad, right? How do you how do you attract like projects to build on Monad, and how are those projects, convince others to use their projects, because your coin or like your token is not like live yet, right? And maybe we can ask like similar questions to also like Berachain and Polkadot new generation too. But let's start first with like Sungmo.
Yeah, so the question is how to attract the ecosystem projects, right?
Yeah, like how you attract like the builders to build on your ecosystem, and how do those projects attract like the users to come, because you guys don't have a live token yet.
Yes, so the impressive thing about Monad is we currently have on our testnet close to 300 projects that are deployed their contracts. So they're highly likely to deploy on mainnet as well. And I think it is not really important for us to have 1,000 or 2,000 projects, but it is more important for us to have a really killer application who could onboard a lot more users. Because people just can deploy contracts and they can just not do their business. And what Monad is trying to do is do the things that are not scalable. So what we are doing is, for example, at the end of this month, we have this initiative called the Residency. This is a 3 weeks program, and we have 2 cohorts of startups that we think are very strong. And we invite the founders of those projects to a network school in Malaysia, and we spend 10 days together. And during that 10 days, we go through all the different go-to-market strategy, or how to build a community, or how to build a product. And at the end of each cohort, after 10 days, we have a demo day. And that demo day, they are presenting what they're doing in front of Monad VC networks, so that they can be funded and they can be introduced to the network or broader industry people. So these are like the examples of how Monad is approaching to the ecosystem projects. And by this mean that we think if we can make next Pump.Fun or next Magic Eden in other ecosystem, we could be successful rather than having 10,000 random projects. So it is true that there are many projects building on top of Monad, but probably only a few of them will be successful. And we want to help those successful projects to be more successful. And that's why we are focusing on very small amount of projects and focusing our resources to those projects. And probably once they're successful, they will be able to onboard more and more users because we will eventually our mainnet, and they will also launch their tokens and everything. So incentivization is their own strategy. That's not what Monad Foundation could work on, but I think if we can have a very killer application on our ecosystem, then user onboarding will be done by those killer applications. So that's how we're approaching.
All right, thanks. And how about Berachain, right? You guys, new generation like one, but a bit more mature than Monad and have some successful cases already, right? And what's your perspective? How do you keep the successful projects running, attracting more pump fund, or like other massively successful project joining, and how is the users of those projects are like benefiting from the live token of Berachain instead of like an unlaunched token like Monad?
So at Berachain, so one of the first reason that our founder we build this new chain is that we want to solving the issue of projects that doesn't have liquidity from the beginning. It's a very headache issue, and like most of the project who starting at a startup, they usually don't have any liquidity, right, or any capital. So Berachain designed a mechanism called proof liquidity, whereas we have our chain emission or so-called block reward. This chain emission will be flow into application, into users, and to validators. So it's very different from proof of stake, whereas all the chain emission will flow directly and mostly to validators. like on Ethereum, you can see that any new block being produced, the ETH token will be distributed to validators and pay back to validators. But on Bearer chain, we want to create a triangle that three party can be benefit, right? So when the chain admission flow into first application, then users, and then validators in the order proportionally. So this create a very engaged and interact between parties. So application, at Bear Chain we believe that any chain wanna win, it gotta be the byproduct of the protocol winning. So if you have application that winning, then the chain gonna win, right? As a byproduct. At Bear Chain we believe that the application development and the benefit of the users is our core mission. So if you think about the benefit for the application and you're trying your best and you want to play a role to help them to grow, if the application win, you're gonna win. Yeah, that's what we think.
Thanks, man. And Polkadot is a totally different perspective, like I said in the beginning, right? You guys like one of the OG chains. So maybe like we get like real specific, right? What were the most successful Polkadot in the previous cycle? Are they still alive? And what are the current most successful projects on Polkadot right now live? And how do you think that Polkadot Foundation or the developer community can help them to grow and coming up more with those kind of successful projects on Polkadot?
Yeah, so talking about the project, I think like recently all the Polkadot ecosystem, they have an eye on like the project on like Mythos Change, which is like for mythical gaming, and like they build like, a blockchain using like the Polkadot SDK to be the blockchain for gaming only. And if you play like games like FIFA Rivals, NFL Rivals, or like even like PUBG Party that we're gonna be launched around this year, all those run on top of the Polkadot infrastructure. And I think like those are like one successful project. I can also like mention a few more as well. But yeah, like talking about like the way we are trying to remain like developers to keep building on Polkadot and project keep using Polkadot SDK at their main infrastructure. The problem is like building a chain is hard. That's the first thing, and everyone want to build like the change as fast as possible, low cost, easy to onboard, and easy, familiar to all the builders. And I think like Polkadot, we provide like all the tech stack, like allow you to build like EVM compatible change, with like just deploy like a new runtime module, basically on your blockchain, with like a few line of code, you're gonna have like a fully running like EVM compatible change. And also, even if you want to customize like the business logic on the runtime level, it's still like quite easy using like Polkadot SDK. And I think that's what like make the tech stack of Polkadot quite easy to use. Yeah, I understand like from the business standpoint, there's still like a lot of problems that we have to face now because like you're like a huge ecosystem and we have like a lot of fragmented experience in there. But yeah, like from the technical perspective and the way that you can build blockchain on Polkadot, I can like surely agree with you. Like right now, it's only like take a few days for you to boost up a new parachain running on Polkadot.
Nice. Thanks a lot for like that. And maybe I'm trying to get out of like the secret sauce that Polkadot still have. The communities and different parties like Federation still have to compete with like the giants of the industry like Solana, Ethereum, all of their minions, layer 2s, and the newer generation chains. And maybe that's what we all here building chains aspire to become one of the giants of the industry one day. But let's look down, right? Like I don't know how long have you guys been in the industry, right? Maybe just name one chain that you have seen from the previous cycle or like this cycle have already failed in your opinion. Just one, okay? Remember, there are a lot of sponsors here, but you guys are not from the organizers, right? So just one chain. So maybe start with Thiện first. Let's look down, like which chain that have already dead, right? And maybe give like a short reason why do you think it's dead, right? Maybe some of them outside, like standing waiting for you to disagree. Just remember, yeah.
I think that's a really interesting question for all the panelists here. Like, how can you mention like, a name of a blockchain when you're on stage?
Or maybe just struggling, yeah.
Let me ask you again, like, what is the definition of failure for the blockchain project?
So like they have no communities or they have no developments from your own opinion. If they have no development but still a strong community, I don't think that is like a fair chain, right? I am an ADA holder, right? And we all know, even as ADA holders, right? We have an elite holders community. And the developers community is not as elite, okay? But I still hold it, so not ADA, okay? But maybe from your perspective, which one have completely dropped the ball from the previous cycle?
I think talking about that, maybe some criteria to define the blockchain project as a failed project, in my opinion, would be there is a line with the core value is try to deliver. For example, if you try to build the infrastructure that allow all the project to build their vision, their business on top, even though you don't have communities, but you still empower a lot of projects out there. It's still a successful use case, right? But I think it's a hard question. I cannot mention any name here.
So there's no fair chain, just not yet successful. How about you? How
So,
about
to be honest,
no more politically correct answer?
To be honest, I wouldn't name anyone, but there's a few lessons here that maybe we want to take, right? So if you want to think about, there's many, so-called ghost chain, right? Because they don't have users and because they don't have winning application. No, there's no lie.
Okay, no lie.
But, to be honest, what is the lesson here that we can take? Basically, if we think about the application itself, right? How can we provide them, things like capital, or how can we provide them more utility, more tools or more equipment so that they can be successful? It's a very interesting standpoint. Basically, for example, at MetaChain, we want to focus on, how to provide them enough of, they can rely on the chain to acquire users, and they can rely on the chain to, have some liquidity, right? Basically, if you can have a project to generate revenue, you can have a project on distribution to the right hand of users, and you can, onboard TVL, efficient TVL to the chain. That's how I believe a chain can play a role in helping application to win, and vice versa. Because, as I said earlier, only application succeed, the chain will succeed, and the community can be beneficial from that. Yeah, so don't name anyone, right? But we can take a lesson from here.
Maybe you want to add it into that, the pitfalls to avoid, because you guys also are like an up and coming chain, right? And you guys don't want to become an example on the stage in the future when I ask other panels in the future about failed chain, right?
I think actually I can name. So if we know any of the names of the chains, it's already successful. But there are clear examples of one successful chain that didn't go well. And I can say this because I used to build on top of that chain. Before I joined Monad, I was also an employee of Polygon Foundation for 2 years. And before that, I was a co-founder of an NFT marketplace on Terra ecosystem. And Terra is a failure, obviously. So I can mention that name, but it's a pity because Terra was a very, very successful ecosystem and they have a huge community. And I think that was a big failure, but that gave a lot of lessons to many different people. And also because of Terra, I got into this blockchain space. So I feel personally appreciating to the Terra ecosystem, but to be honest, it's a total failure and my startup is not anymore there. So yeah, it is a failure. Yeah.
That's a good one. For me, I think Algorand, you know why? Because they are not one of the sponsors of the event. So, it's definitely a failure here. And because if they haven't failed, right, they could have sponsored GM Vietnam and knows about Vietnam already, right? So, so we already talked about the past, right? Maybe we can talk about the future, right? So there are a lot of aspiring, very talented developers, right? Up and coming, and they want to also build like maybe layer 1, layer 2, maybe on your ecosystem. What do you for the layer 1s and layer 2s, besides, don't compete with us, what are others, suggestions or like recommendation that you could tell, like future blockchain network, like the fundamental layer builders that you can recommend them. Maybe we can start with like Sungmo and go back from there.
Because we didn't even start the mainnet, so it's not a good place for me to advise any projects. But in my opinion, I think it is very important to find out about the product market fit of your project, and then think about which region you should target and what kind of user base you should target. But think about your user persona. So if you are, for example, if you're building a DEX, and then you need to target a trader, not a whales who hold like tons of money, who would like to actually seek for yield generation opportunities. So there are many different, very, very many different kind of types of users. So it's not really efficient for you to target massive market, because that just costs too much, and that is not even efficient in terms of the capital efficiency. So I would recommend you to think about your product market fit, who are you looking after, and how to get to them. So that would be my advice.
Nice. How about you, Ken?
So, okay, for newcomer, I believe it's very competitive right now, but there's always a place for newcomer. And to be honest, like now with the existing, infrastructure and technology of blockchain, and with the support from the government, and also now we have more sophisticated participants joining the space, right? So I believe somehow it can be easier for you to build a very high quality product, but then it's pretty hard to build a community and to actually attract application, because new application, new protocol, they can actually have a bunch of options right now, right? They can go to Solana, they can go to Monad. Why would they pick you? So the only way you can make yourself stand out from the other is that I usually take Hyperliquid for talking about this, because Hyperliquid was one of the best ecosystem for 2025, and the way it designed the tokenomic, the way it designed the product, the users can actually feel that they can actually be a shareholder of that. They can be a part of it, like a family, right? Like if you talk to any users from Hyperliquid, they're so loyal, and they love the project, they love their home. So it's also a very significant moment when you can build your own culture, right? Culture is very important because it's like your brand identity. If you want to build a new layer 1, think about the culture. It can be like language, it can be meme, it can be NFT, but it should be a way that people can recognize this is Bear Chain or this is Monad, right? Otherwise, you cannot stand out from other ecosystem.
All right, cool. And you have the last word, Tin. What do you have the recommendation for the future?
Yeah, I think like to me, developing like a blockchain project is similar to like developing a Web2 project. Like identify the ideal customer profile, like identify like the technical requirements, and also like UX first. So why UX first? Like take a look at Figma. I think like it's just IPO yesterday or something, and like Figma is a really good product. Like it's designed first, like put the customer as like the first citizen of your product. And I think like if like the blockchain project also like need to follow the same path as Figma, identify the ideal customer profile, and also the technical requirements is also like quite crucial as well. Right now there's a lot of technology out there, the market is quite like, I can say, a bit less saturated with like all the tech. You have like layer 1, layer 2, and even like the technology to grade like layer 3 or something. And before like thinking like whether should I build a new blockchain, you have to identify like the core problems of like what is the requirements of building a new blockchain. Like you need to maintain your active validator set. You need to to build a governance system, consensus. Like there's a lot of things. And why don't you just use like roll up as service and also infra as similar to like Polkadot SDK or like OpenStack to runs up a new blockchain easily. And so yeah, like identify the technical requirement first before big attack is quite important. And I think like distribution strategy is really important. Like Monad here did very good job on like distribute like the Monad branding, because I remember when I know about like Monad, like I didn't find any documentation to deploy a smart contract, yeah, because it didn't launch a testnet. But yeah, like a really good distribution strategy. So yeah, that's like 3 key points that I think a new blockchain project should pay attention to.
All right, thanks, man. And I guess that's the end of our discussion about the past and the present and the future. And hopefully, we have provide some interesting information here for the audience. And hopefully, we can all be here one day and talk about, like something even bigger. Because all of us, at least you three, have built like, the successful giants, the new successful giants of the industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you.